And then what would you say your main thing was right before full-time at OpenAI?
Building stuff, unemployed.
Yeah. Okay. Unemployed. How do you like explain what you do to people before you're at OpenAI?
I think I just build stuff. I think that's like what I do. I mean, that's what I do now. So what I like to. Yeah. I mean, I think generally I told people I work in startups. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the story.
Okay. And so to back up, I think when you were in high school, you had built your first startup.
Yeah. I mean, the story related to like how I got started in startups and tech in general is basically that like, I mean, like I kind of always did, my dad worked in tech, and so I was interested in it, but I honestly never coded until I was like 17 or 18.
Wow. Actually.
I did a bunch of like electronic stuff. For some reason, I like hardware, and I like to like buy in like capacitors and like charging them and whatever. And like, I was not that successful at building anything at all. Actually, my family made fun of me because I never finished my projects, and I never really, I would just like screw around with it and never finished. Yeah. And then like basically COVID hit, and like kind of late junior year of high school and like all of senior. And so like during that time, I think I had like basically 3 times as much, time as I normally had. And I just spent, before that, I was like spending all my time in school. I mean, I just like studied all the time and worked really hard. I went to school in West LA, and like, I think the school.
Where'd you go to school?
A school called Geffen Academy. It's
wow.
a school connected to UCLA.
Yeah.
I was actually the first graduating class, which is fun. So,
Really?
Yeah.
What's Geffen?
Well, David Geffen is a legend in the...
David Geffen started the school at UCLA for like high school. So
wow.
donated some money for it. Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, strange. I mean, I went to a public school for the first year for freshman year, and then I was like, this was not for me. I remember I got a B in Spanish, and I used to live in Argentina for 5 years.
Why'd you get a B?
And this is the point, which is like, I think I was there, and I realized like being smart and like thinking about things and I guess like actually being good at the skill you're supposed to be tested on wasn't the thing that you were graded on. And I think for me, it was like, don't fall asleep in class and like pay attention and kind of like.
What a villain origin story. This dude got a B and fell asleep in class.
And then I think at that point I realized that like a lot of the classes there, even like the AP classes, were just really kind of memorizing a book. And I'm like, actually I'm bad at that. Like if I go through that, I'm just going to fail. And like, I know I'm capable of shit. And I like, it's a bad strategy. And so for me, I was like,
You figured that out yourself?
I think I was just miserable. Like realistically, I just fucking hated school. So I was like, I think all kids do. And like, I just wanted to figure out a way out of there. And then I just was like, hey, like one of my friends was like, I go to this new school called Geffen Academy. You want to come join there? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll take a look. And I applied. I don't think I asked my parents. I just like applied to the school.
Really?
And I like got in and just went there, and it was a great experience. Yeah.
You said you lived in Argentina for 5 years?
Oh yeah. When I was a kid.
What was that like? Were you born there or were you born here?
I was born in Seattle, actually.
Okay.
My family just moved to Argentina when I was 5.
Nice.
Very strange story of why. I mean, it's like very complex, but I mean, I guess there's a lot of reasons. Part of it was like one of our friends like predicted the 2008 stock market crash and like had convinced us to sell our houses. Like,
are you serious?
About a year before.
Did you guys actually do it?
Yeah, we sold our houses.
They were in Argentina.
And then we like,
I didn't know he sold that.
At that point, we were just kind of renting on Seattle altogether, and we're like, hey, it would be cool if we moved to Argentina. The reason why is like all of our the dads in this kind of friend group basically all worked remotely, which is kind of strange for like 2008. Yeah. And they're like, well, Argentina, Buenos Aires is only like 1 hour off of Eastern, I think. And so we were like, works great, move down there, and then we can learn a new language and experience a new culture and everything. And we thought we were going to stay for 2 years. We stayed for 5.
Wait, so you moved with a bunch of friends too?
Yeah. We moved with 2 other families.
What was that like?
Great. I mean, like we moved there like knowing no Spanish. Like if that gives you some context on like who my parents and their friends are and like our family is kind of insane at some level, but like in a good way,
Okay. So while you were there, I guess towards like the later years, what was your like life like?
You mean like being in Argentina?
Yeah. Being in Argentina with your friends that you like lived in the US with. Yeah,
it was complicated. I mean, like I was homeschooled for like most of my life until 6th grade. And so that was an experience. And I think, I'm actually, out of all the things that I'm most grateful for, that's like probably the biggest in terms of like, I think most kids, like, if you go meet some like 8-year-olds, like they just run around and like to do shit all the time. And like I think just putting yourself in school and like making you sit down all the time and like learn from a board and like don't move and don't yell at kids and like don't poke your friend is like not something that people are super good at. Not to say that you don't need school. Actually, I think school is very important. I think the ability though to like curate kids' interest in things from like a young age is like most of which I attribute my interest in building things. I think my mom, basically schooled me and my 2 brothers, and then just kind of taught us. And like we, by the time we started 6th grade, I was like a year and a half ahead of other people. And this makes sense. I think this is basically true for basically anyone, which is like if you had learning that matched your speed and at the time, like the things that you go fast at, things you go slow at, you go slow at. And at the end of the day, you just spend more time on things you care about and spend less time on things you don't.
Well, you have a similar.
Yeah. So I was actually homeschooled.
No way.
From I think 6th grade onward.
Okay.
All the way through high school. And so that was really interesting because I think during high school I started to get really interested in like marketing and like making videos and stuff. And that gave me the free time to like go kind of figure out my school stuff for like 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, sometimes like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But then I'd have the rest of the day to be able to work on like I started an agency. And so that
That's
was
so
like
awesome.
like the typical like internet kid thing was like I'm gonna go do a marketing agency. And
That doesn't sound typical, but yeah, it sounds good.
I feel like now every like person on the internet, at least on like Instagram, it feels like everyone's just doing some type of like a marketing media agency.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And so I had actually kind of tried to do that. And because I was homeschooled, I was able to like travel during the school year and I was able to do a lot of those things.
Wait, so how old were you when you did that?
So I probably left when I was 11 and then I started the marketing agency. I started editing videos for YouTubers when I was 12 because I wanted money.
Yes.
And then I started the agency when I was like 13, 14 when I realized that I knew how to take photos from Boy Scouts. And then I knew how to edit videos from the YouTubers.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, I should just make like a filmmaking agency.
Dude, I think I want to talk about this specifically because like the one pattern I've realized in like a lot of the young builders I've met and I think in myself and other people is that like basically everyone I've met has got their start in like I like to call it maybe like relative competition. The idea being like, we all started like some new field. Like I built like Discord servers and Minecraft servers. Like actually all the guys that built Minecraft servers who were like the age, like probably they were like 5 years older than me when we starting out. They were really building
Shout out Uber.
Yeah. Uber, he used to run like entire like servers. That was his whole company. It was called Curse.
I mean, what is he doing now? I mean, like
He's the head of investments at
He's
Hunters
my
Inc.
boss.
This is my point. All the guys who were building Minecraft servers when we were kids, they're all like running Series A, Series C companies right now.
Yeah.
And the reason why, and then for me, it's like Discord servers. I think for you did a marketing agency, which honestly sounds cooler than Discord servers.
Tell me why I listen to him.
Say again?
Tell me why I listen to him.
What?
No, because you're about to tell me why you guys are running things.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think the point is that like, it's really hard to learn how to build stuff and be creative and think of ideas. And the problem is like, if you do this right now in like a saturated space, like if you're trying to build like, I think there's a lot of spaces that are saturated, right? In like most cases, like you're trying to do SaaS right now. And if you're like 12 and trying to do SaaS or 14 and trying to do SaaS, I mean, like not even do SaaS, like just build a thing for your friends. Yeah. Like you're not going to be able to succeed versus like Discord servers, like nobody above the age of like 17 or 20 was like really building Discord servers with their free time. To be clear, nobody has the time to do that. I was like sitting in school, like bored. I have all the time in the world. I'm like be able to spend a bunch of time doing things that nobody cares about.
How much time do you actually have to put in to that?
I mean, like even like how much time do you spend on marketing agency or like Minecraft servers? Like kids have so much time during the day and they spend all of it. And like they're able to spend 40 hours when you can spend 5. And like
that's a good point.
In this case, I was able to learn how to be creative, how to think, how to like. And actually, one thing is like all my friends did like sneaker bots. I know a bunch of friends did sneaker bots. I never did that stuff. I was not into that, but like all of them are doing well now. And the idea was like they were only really competing with their friends. Like nobody else was running sneaker bots, but other 15-year-olds.
But also you get your 10,000 hours a lot faster because you don't have like normal responsibilities. You don't have a full-time job. And that's why things like homeschool, I think, help a lot more.
So the 10,000 hours thing is an interesting comparison.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's very valid. I think like experience is valid. I think in general, like 100, 200 hours is enough of like being able to create something you care about when you're like, you have something that's taking off and you're able to be like, oh, I can design this. I can push this in any direction I want. I can think about ideas, what works, what doesn't. Let me try different things. Yeah. Because like most people I know just haven't had that opportunity. And for me, this was like a Discord bot I built when I was like, this like end of high school for me. I started the Discord bot and that turned it into a whole startup that, we ended up selling. But the point is like, that was just some dumb thing I built that because nobody else was really competing, because it's only really kids doing this, I was able to kind of get something off the ground and then kind of stretch my creative muscles and build things and choose design features and implement them and then see if they didn't work and do something else and just have that experience. And once you have that, I think that's what you need to kind of take off.
How do you develop the business experience? So you guys are so young doing this.
I have no business experience.
But I'm saying so you guys sold the company. You were obviously getting big clients.
Yeah.
Like how do you guys, because you guys were builders pretty much. I assume you both didn't have business mentors at that age. Like, how do you navigate when everyone talks about, oh, you need to handle yourself a certain way in these meetings? Or I assume you both talk to corporate entities when you're doing business.
I mean, kind of. I don't think it's that hard. I think like you underrate how hard school is. Like, I think for me, I always thought the world would be more complex. Like even like going to larger or more important rooms over time, I realized like they're all actually not that complicated. Like it's pretty simple in many of these cases. And I think, I think the thing for me is like you ask kids like they're doing like fractions or whatever the math they're having to learn. They're learning way more than you have to learn and like studying way more than you have to study every day. Sure. And so you put them into like building Minecraft servers and competing with people. I'm like, wait, I love this. I want to do this. I get paid for this, or at least you get to like have some enjoyment. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I think most kids would do well in these kind of scenarios, right? Because they have the motivation, they have the experience.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I think it's similar. A lot of school is doing things you don't want to do. And then when you compare that to now giving like a kid the free reign to work on something he's actually interested in and go into those feedback loops of like, oh, now I have in the Discord server example, I'd run a few. Now I have people like talking in the server that I can always go to. For the marketing agency, it's like, oh, like now I have money in my bank account that I can do whatever I want with.
Okay.
And then you get addicted to just like seeing like the
So you
loop
just
go
want
up,
to keep
numbers
growing.
go up.
So you guys are just like,
and there's no one telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Right. Cause then that was super interesting to me because I was like, that was the first time where I was able to like do your own thing. And that was like addictive. Because it's like you put certain inputs, output numbers go up, chain of inputs, and it just becomes addicting to just go into the loops.
It's about the feedback loop. Like you can't get the feedback loop of building things if you don't actually build something that works and has users and has like at least some feedback, right? Like whether that's YouTube views or dollars or like number of people who are using your Discord bot, right? Like that's the thing that's the commodity that is so rare, which is most people don't have the opportunity to get into this feedback loop. Right?
Do you see the same thing as like the whole building in public versus keeping things private? Is that the same philosophy? Like, should you always build in public, or is there? I think
like the message of like launch as soon as possible, like you haven't launched soon enough, is usually related to this of like just get feedback from the world. Like that's how you grow. The build in public thing, I generally think is more about branding and like personal branding and like marketing. But
I think it gives you distribution. It solves the distribution problem because usually what people struggle with is finding their first users. And then when you build in public, people watch you along the way, and people like helping out like the little guy too. Yeah. So they'll like, oh, this is super cool. They'll send it to their friend. You should check this out, et cetera, et cetera.
Totally.
Because Cedro had said, do you know Cedro?
Of course I know Cedro. Who doesn't know Cedro?
But we interviewed Cedro for a vlog when he was at the office.
Yeah.
But we were asking like, what's, the one thing you failed at as a founder of startup that kind of you learn from and you build it off. And his thing was like, don't build too fast sometimes. Like that's a bad thing in itself. Like you might ship too fast.
Yep.
And there are, kind of drawbacks sometimes to building and shipping in public. Like, and I think he kind of learned that.
Okay. I think the problem is sometimes you got to be careful who you get advice from, because I think Sigil is like someone who's just too far ahead. Like he's giving advice I think a lot of people should take. But like once they're there, like I think he's totally right. But like the first thing is get off the ground, and then it's like worry about how fast you're building or these other things, right? I mean, I think it's like a high class problem for someone who builds a lot of cool stuff. So that makes sense.
And so going back to your story, in high school, you were kind of like, you built this Discord server, you kind of sold it.
Yeah.
And then what made you keep going to like the next thing? Because I think the next thing you started was called Alter, which is I think turned into Deep Research.
Yeah. And so basically, all it was is around COVID hit. I realized that like I was studying all the time, and I was like, I have all this time now. Like I used to like our drive to and from school was like an hour and 15 minutes or something. And so like I got so much time back immediately, and also school got so easy around COVID. And I was like, great. Like I realized after that day, like I don't want to waste this time. If I'm going to waste this time, I'm going to feel like an idiot. Like I had so much time on hand, I did nothing with it. I'm going to regret it. And so I was like, I'll just start doing startups. Like actually I started this like dumb messaging app startup. The idea being like, oh, during COVID, like, people need better ways to connect, especially as schools offline, like building things for, I guess like schools, like enterprise. It was first like consumer social, and then it was like enterprise for schools. Totally failed, did not work, raised some money from friends and family, and like just failed.
Yeah.
But then I decided like, let's go do something else. And then I kind of got into this Discord startup thing. Yeah.
That's so funny. I did a very similar thing. I think COVID started.
Yeah.
I decided to take a gap year after high school because I graduated a year early.
Awesome.
And initially the thought process was go to community college, just like go to college straight.
Yep.
But I was like, okay, I'm going to take a gap year. And if I don't get into a good school, I'm just not going to go. And I started building, I did a lot that year. I think I was concurrently running like a bunch of different projects.
Yep.
But one of the main things was a social app to meet people, and the typical first time founder, an app to like hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
Also didn't work, but doing that taught me about like user distribution, told me what YC was like, you start watching like the videos.
Yep.
You start realizing who like the interesting kind of like thought leaders are in the space, who start giving you advice. That was super interesting.
Yep.
How did that turn into like the next thing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like once you start looking, I think consumer social is where everyone starts because it's what everybody uses every day and what everybody cares about. Like I like social apps. I want to run a social app. I want more social apps, right?
Yeah.
And like that's true. And I actually think it's a good thing. Like I think generally like the fact that like when people just start out, they just work on the thing they actually care about. The problem is like there's no feedback loop. Like you're going to launch a social media and it has no users and there's no information. And also like the one biggest mistake people do is they build for 6 months and launch the product at the end. And you're like, you should have launched on day 3, right? And like it's so easy to spend time. And I did that mistake too. Like just to be clear, I've done that.
It's been a year.
Yeah, I spent like probably 6 or 7 months basically on this and it just didn't work out and I didn't test enough. But basically during that, I was also just exploring and reading and you know, just doing shit on the side for fun. And then at some point I remember like I had a CS course, CS class, in high school. And I had like one of the greatest teachers ever. This guy's amazing. But he basically recognized that like there was a couple of people in the class who like knew they were coding, like or at least had the capacity to do really good coding. And so he's like, I don't really care what you do. Go do your own thing. That's fine. Whatever. And at that point I was like, oh, AI is kind of cool. Like I like AI. I've heard a bunch about it. And I was like, I want to do like NLP or something. And I did Discord a lot. And at some point, like I found like this tool that let you download an entire Discord server chat history, which is like absurd. Like Discord lets you download like way too much data. But I could download it. It took me 3 minutes. Actually, it was the Gen Z Mafia Discord server. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I downloaded that and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I have all of this. Like what the hell?
Yeah.
And then I realized there was like a tag. It was a bunch of messages and there was a tag was saying like replies. And it would have a name, the mention of the person who you just replied to. So if you send a message, you mention someone, there's like a JSON format for that. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like what happens if I graph this? What if I graph like who's talking to who? And you can have like a visual of like who mentioned who the most. And then that immediately turned into like, I posted that on Twitter. People really liked it. And like, I want to use your product. I'm like, it's not a product. It's a Python script. Like it's not actually a real thing, but like basically started me building tools for Discord. Yeah. Which turned into, the startup. Yeah.
Interesting.
And you did that in college?
No, this was end of high school.
Okay.
This is like actually, I'm shutting down the other startup.
So you're shutting it down. You're doing this, but you
just
still
kind of screwing around. I mean, like for me, it was just like stumbled into something by just like messing around. I was like, hey, a bunch of people really want this thing, and so I'll start building it. And I just got with some friends online, and we just started building the product and launched something in about, I think like a month or so or a couple weeks, and then like people really liked it and it started growing. And then we just decided like, this is the thing we're going to do full time. And we just kept working. And then basically by the end of the summer, we got a call from a guy who was like, hey, I want to like buy your company. And I was like, sweet, you know?
Wow.
And that was like a week before I went off to school too. Which
Really?
is crazy. I was like, I mean, it's just like, I thought I was going to quit. Like, honestly, I was like, well, I'm going to go to school.
Yeah.
And you should commit to school. Like, if you're going to go to school, commit to school. So
Okay.
it's like, I wasn't ready to do a startup, but like it came over. I'm like, great, that's what I'm going to do now. So.
And then what was school like? You did a year.
Yeah, school was great. I mean, like, I wish I could stay longer. I mean, for me, it was like basically going to school and then doing a startup other half of the time. I mean, that's kind of tough to do. And towards the end, I just felt like I'm half-assing two things, right? Like I'm half-assing the startup and I'm half-assing school. And like, I want to full-ass one thing, not half-ass two things, right? And so I decided not to go back at the end of the year and then basically ended up here. I mean, also I was basically, because we sold the company, I ended up staying, I had to stay a year at the parent company.
Makes sense.
And so I was like, why not? I don't want to do school and work at the same time next year too. I'm just going to like take some time off, finish that, and then see what's going to happen after.
It's wild how similar your guys' story is.
I know.
Yeah.
It was the same boat. I went through all the freshman year and then I started taking a gap in the middle of my sophomore year because it had got to a point with F Inc. and school where I was like kind of doing I was getting to a point where I could do a lot more with F Inc. I was still like doing okay in school, but I feel like I was leaving a lot on the table with F Inc. and I was like, okay, I don't want to keep doing this. So I left in the middle of the semester to go full time.
I couldn't pull my weight, and he was like, I got to step in and carry you too. So it's like, you know, I got school and I got to do this guy's job, and it's like, you know how it is.
Of course, yeah. He pulls everything. He basically does everything here. Oh my God. Okay,
Okay, and then my question, this was super easy for me to make the transition from, okay, now I live in SF. We live in the same apartment. Awesome. But now we live in SF. I have this like good friend group. People at the office are super cool. I've never had to worry about any of that. What was it like for you? And I also grew up here, like an hour south.
Oh, nice.
So I have all my like friends I grew up with. What was it like for you to go from, you're at Michigan now, I know some of your friends, but now you're like in SF. Completely different friend group. I'm guessing you're pretty far from your parents. What was that like?
I mean, I think it's hard. People ask me like where I'm from, and I usually just like, kind of don't say anything. I'm like, I'm not really from anywhere. Like I moved around my entire life. I was born in Seattle,
man,
moved to Argentina.
You're from somewhere, man.
I mean, like
generally,
you're not an alien, man.
He's like, where are you from? He's like, no.
I mean, kind of. I think like it's about identity too, which is like, where are you from? And you're like, I don't really have an identity of any specific place or community or culture because I just moved around a lot. And actually, I appreciate that. Like,
what's the first thing that pops in your head when I'm like, where are you from?
Probably LA. I mean, I spent like 7 years in LA. I did high school and like half of middle school there. So
why Michigan?
Michigan is a school.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the only school I got into that was good, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
That's the only place I got into. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Where did you apply?
a lot of places.
Really? Michigan's a good school.
I think that's a pretty good representation of like school applications.
I had a very good like application.
What's wrong with school applications?
But we applied in the same year.
Yeah.
Oh, that cycle was messed up though.
Yeah, it was.
That was like right after COVID. So our application cycle is one of the worst ones.
Also because a bunch of people deferred a year, and so the spots were less for the next year. And then also like things happen, and
but the variance is that high where you can like get into Michigan and not get into schools on a similar tier. Like,
no, not at all. Yeah.
Like UCLA, did you get into?
No.
Really?
Huh. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good representation that like you shouldn't let your worth be defined by your like where you go to college applications, especially considering what you've done after.
Yeah, the thing was tough though. I was driven by my parents and just like generally community to like work really fucking hard in school, and like I did, and then like to go through that and then like not get anywhere and like see people that I don't know, not healthy reasons. I like worked really hard, and I felt like I was worked harder than other people, which I think was true, and I had better grades than other people. But at the end of the day, they went to better schools than I did, and that was like really tough. I think it was a good lesson, but like generally, like I think I don't know. I have a lot of complicated thoughts about our college admission system.
What is the lesson you took away from it?
Yeah, I don't think I was doing it for the right reasons, right? Like I was studying really hard and doing very well, but like for complicated ways, right? I think I was doing it just because I wanted to. I think I struggled in other parts of life, moving around all the time, like social, kind of like not having a grounding or a social community there. Yeah. And so like, for me, I was like, oh, this is the thing that lets me feel good about myself. And I'm going to be like better than other people, or I'll have like kind of do well because I get the best grades or whatever. And I think, pushed by my parents in a bad way. And I think for me, I realized at the end, like, who cares, man? Like, yeah, it's unfair, but like, that wasn't the point. Yeah.
And then now that you're here, now you also, a lot of our friends that are mutuals also left school.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what your social's like now that you've kind of left college and you're working full time?
Complicated. I haven't put a lot of energy into it. I've like intentionally been like, I moved here in February. I'm kind of like, was just looking for a change and LA wasn't right. Didn't know that many people there. Michigan wasn't right. I spent 4 months in Michigan at the beginning of the year. Like first semester, basically living there because I already had a lease there and some friends. And I just worked remotely from Michigan, which was like pretty fun, but like, wasn't going to do that for another 6 months. And, but for me, I just like focused on getting like my foot in the door, and then I can figure out more of my social situation. So that's like pretty much the situation. Yeah.
What about like San Francisco specifically? Like obviously we know the tech culture. Anything else that's like appealing? Okay. Yeah.
So like for me, I just on Twitter since Gen Z Mafia COVID days, like Clubhouse type thing.
Where are your followers from, would you say? Because you've obviously gone, and I mean this from.
You know what the secret is?
What's up?
Like 2021, like COVID or whatever, right? Like I get on Twitter, or like people convince me to get on Twitter, like Discord or whatever, during that time. I get on Twitter, I start tweeting stuff. I do pretty well because I just like tweet cool stuff. And then at some point I'm like,
what were you tweeting? Your stuff? Your
projects? Like products or, dumb takes about AI or something. But I bought like 3,000 followers from like India for like $20. It's like, well, the expected value on that is like significant. And I realized like when I click on someone's profile and they say I have like less than like a couple hundred followers, like as a new account, I usually just don't give it time of day. Like not even about like looking at it. Like a lot of people just dismiss you. And so I was like, oh, if I just have anything above the limit, even if it's bullshit, I don't get engaged, whatever, I don't care. Like at least they'll look at me for a couple more seconds longer. And like slowly replaced those all like got banned, and so like I slowly been going down in follower count, but also like going up significantly. So it's like it worked out in the end. For about a year, I was like,
Yeah, I respect that you said that on the podcast.
Bro, that's crazy.
I don't care. Like, I don't worry about it now because I know I can back it up. So it's like, I would have told you this a year ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm one of the followers you bought, bro.